everyone. Welcome to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. We begin with the war in the Middle East as the U.S. and Iran exchange airstrikes. Once again, the president declared that in his view, the ceasefire with Iran is over. President Trump authorized new strikes against Iran. He posted videos of explosions online as Iran fired back. It's unclear what kind of damage those retaliatory strikes did or if U.S. assets were damaged.
20 to 1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. We did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night.
President Trump said he will allow negotiations to continue. It's not clear when face-to-face discussions between Iran and the U.S. will resume. Joining us is Sarakshi, a managing editor with our media partners at The Hill. Sarakshi, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We're always glad to have you. Let's talk about Iran. Where do things stand right now?
That's right. You know, what we did see is this kind of fighting restart as the president was in Ankara for the NATO Leaders Summit. And what we've seen so far is that he says, according to him, the ceasefire is over. Now, there is a lull in fighting following a flare-up of those strikes that threaten this U.S.-Iran agreement. You know, so in coordination with the U.S., there are Qatari negotiators who've traveled to Iran to meet with officials there. But really, you know, the U.S. has been deliberately striking and then pausing their strikes to avoid escalation to let this diplomacy plays out. But this follows, you know, those strikes from Iran that kind of started all of this. Now, we also know that Iran's, former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed in those initial strikes, was buried earlier on Friday this week. And his son and successor, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is the new Supreme Leader, hasn't been seen since those strikes first took place, and he didn't appear at the funeral at all. And so, you know, there is this kind of concern about exactly what the state of the ceasefire is. It's quite fragile, whether or not the U.S. and Iran can come to some sort of deal. And also there are reports emerging now, and CNN reporting that there was an Iranian plot to assassinate President Trump, and that was shared via Israeli intelligence as well, Mark.
Sarakshi, we're not back to square one. You talked about Qatari negotiators. There have been conversations now for several weeks. Talks could resume at any time.
They could. You know, we are not exactly back at square one, but we are back to where there is those potential for the strikes to escalate from the U.S. as well. You know, the president has routinely warned Iran that the U.S. will continue their strikes if they show that, you know, they're not keeping their word when it comes to this memorandum of understanding that the U.S. and Iran have agreed to. We do know that there are Qatari negotiators who are in Iran right now to try and de-escalate the situation, as well as figure out, what if there's a possible way to move forward on these negotiations as well. We also saw, you know, this Iran-U.S. agreement be derailed potentially because of these strikes as well. And the mediators are trying to bring both the U.S. and Iran back to the table as well, Mark.
Sarakshi, 30 seconds. Is this still about the Strait of Hormuz and uranium?
Well, it is, you know, for President Trump, you know, he's always said that those enriched uranium deposits are one of his red line, and that Iran cannot have that nuclear weapon. And so right now, you know, for the president, we did see the Strait of Hormuz open up briefly, and that was seen as a huge victory for President Trump, just because, you know, there was able to have oil tankers move through that strait. But essentially, you know, what we've also come to realize is that the chokehold that Iran has on the Strait of Hormuz is, quite strategic, and they will use that and close it down and shut it down if they think that the U.S. is not meeting their end of the agreement as well. So, you know, both sides here kind of sticking to their red lines, and potentially, you know, we could see this agreement, this very fragile agreement, be derailed.
Sarakshi, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.